It wants to go back. It wants to return. The divine is not somewhere out there. It is here and now. Hello. Today I'm going to talk about anamnesis. So we are all amnesiacs. You see it in cinema and in books, different characters trying to remember themselves. We have innate knowledge inside us. We've all felt it. We all know it's there instinctively. This isn't our home. We often feel displaced, yearning for some kind of union. We grasp bits and pieces of it at different times in our lives. Many of us think we can find this through a different person, through some kind of love or connection. We try to find it through success, through money. Some people try to find this through drugs or alcohol. Others use trance or meditation. But the fact of the matter is we are all separate, and we feel this no matter what we try to indulge in. Deep down, we all know that something is wrong. Some of us are lucky to view facets of the larger picture. Others have gone insane trying, but that's what I'm going to talk about today. Anamnesis is psychic recollection, sometimes called divine reminiscence, or the doctrine of recollection. This is remembering your true identity as the divine spark, or pneuma. This is about seeing past the counterfeit self, the ego, or the voice. I've talked about this in other videos, but I'm gonna go deeper here, but let's get started. Plato. Plato's vision of the soul is inseparable from the idea of a higher reality, a realm not of matter, but of perfect forms, unchanging and eternal, more real than anything that we touch. At the center of this is memory. Mnemosyne is the embodiment of memory in Greek myth, mother of the muses. She was with Zeus for 9 nights. From that union, we have 9 muses. These muses are all ways to recover anamnesis. But this is more than just ordinary memory. The Greek word anamnesis means recollection, not learning something new, but remembering what the soul already knows. Because the soul existed before the body. It once moved among the forms. It was part of the forms. It is truth, beauty, and justice in its pure state, perfection. And what we call learning is really the soul waking up, a dim recognition. Maybe you could call it a flash, a disturbance in the force, as if something buried is pushing to the surface. Plato describes it as the soul recalling what it saw and experienced when it traveled in divine company before it fell, before it forgot. So every moment of insight, every sense that something is true without knowing why, is a crack in the illusion, a brief return to what the soul has already known, always known. I'll put some sources on the screen. If you want to know more about it, you can read into it. But he talks about it in several different works. He also discusses it in his allegory of the cave. I'm not going to go into any of those here, but if you want to know more, just check those out. Plato also says that to overcome the misleading nature of the body, we must enter catharsis. And that means cleansing or purification from guilt or defilement. The Gnostics saw it as redemption. When the divine sparks were trapped in bodies by the demiurge, our spirits were defiled. The body and its senses reinforce this error. Knowledge cannot be regained except through the use of reason. By contemplating things within the soul, noesis, by remembering the true state of it, being is noesis noeseus, which means thought thinking itself, or thinking of thinking, the intellect behind the voice, birth. Neoplatonism says that the birth is a trauma that causes the soul to forget its experiences and its divine origins. If there's one word that I think describes the demiurge's false world, it is the word trauma. It's physical trauma, it's mental trauma, spiritual trauma. It's no wonder we forget. The Apocryphon of John says this: they brought forgetfulness to humanity, and they made them forget who they were and where they came from. This is referring to the archons. We are ingested by matter. It engulfs us. The body entangles our soul. You see this around us. Metamorphosis is a struggle. You see it everywhere in nature. The hatchling coming from the egg, the moth leaving the cocoon, but we are part of the creation. And this creation is never ending. It's still going on. You can check out my video on evolution if you want to know more about my viewpoint here, but I feel like the creation keeps going. It's not a one-time thing. One way to look at our plight is this. Think about a bunch of grapes. Each grape is the fruit from a stem. The grapes eventually fall off with a seed for a new plant, but the stem leads to the vine and the vine leads to the root. You can see the root as the logos or the monad, the vine as the emanations from the logos. The stem is the entry to the kanoma, or the division of the light shards. The grape is the mortal body, and the seed is the incipient prison catalyst, the way the whole thing recycles itself. As we fall further from the root, the primal ground of being, we remember less of the logos. As we drift from the source, the deeper patterns of reality, the logos, becomes harder to perceive or to understand. It takes anamnesis to recover it. Now, the demiurge desires to be as perfect as the logos. It thinks it is. So there is an attempt at perfection, but it's a twisted kind of formation. There is a logic here, but it's kind of a chaotic logic. We're all given to proper parents. You could say we are birthed into our own houses. Now, this could be where both parents want the child. This house is filled with love and light, or it could be a house of abuse, or maybe one parent is absent. Or you could even think that the elect are placed in certain houses. And I kind of think they have it the worst. We are born through trauma, but we also recover our divine memories through more trauma. It's a bit of a paradox. But I think this assignment of light sparks is a selective process. I truly believe this. I think we are exactly where the demiurge wants us, to maximize this kind of painful energy, almost to maximize the logic of it, this twisted logic. I mean, when you think about it, we all know we're in the position that we're in because there's a certain kind of destiny to it or a fate to it. At least it feels that way. But within this, I think the monad kind of intervenes. You could say that placing the elect light shards in the bodies or destinies where they will recall their true home is a kind of sixth sense of humor or something. And I think through our lives, we go through a kind of equation that reveals that the cosmic struggle between the two of them, this push and pull between ignorance and knowing, reveals the true situation. In our childhoods, maybe we know this more instinctively. If you think about it, we're closer to the divine root. We haven't been entrapped by the illusions of society as much. Through our adolescence, through our programming, we often forget more. And sometimes through our trauma, we're forced to forget. Some adults bury it deeper and deeper as they grow older, pushing it away, so to speak, keeping the trauma as far away as possible. But that is the paradox. Like I said, you need the trauma to awaken. Now, there are others that face it head on. Maybe they recall things that were buried in their earlier life, connections to the divine. Some people see them as crazy, or maybe they have experiences that help them remember their past lives, past traumas, past grapes on the vine. Metempsychosis. So through these repeated incarnations, the soul passes from body to body. Metempsychosis is the migration of souls, or more precisely, re-embodiment. But each descent into flesh is kind of a narrowing, a dimming of the light. The body isn't neutral. It presses inward with hunger, with impulse, with distraction. Desires crowd our memory, and sensation replaces our clarity. And what we once saw in the divine realm fades. It's not erased, but it's buried. You could kind of see it as like a child's closet. There's all these toys to play with. Maybe there's some nugget of wisdom at the bottom of the closet, but the child keeps just throwing the toys on top of it and not realizing it's there. The soul takes on the weight of the body, its habits, its cravings, its limitations. It begins to resemble what it inhabits. Like becomes like. It's chained to matter. It forgets its origin. forgets what it knew, forgets what it was. And yet something remains, a trace, a tension, a sense that this is not all that there is. Plato, speaking through Socrates, explains that forgetting begins because the soul is nailed to the body through pleasure and pain. This idea of being nailed to the body is biblical. It's the cross that we bear. Gnosis as Anamnesis. Awakening is often triggered by a reminder, some kind of suffering, overwhelming beauty, or a transcendent state, sometimes a teacher, or even a sacred text. In the Gospel of Truth, there is a line that sums this up. He knows like someone who was drunk and has become sober from his drunkenness and restored again to himself, has again set his own in order. And that's part of this. You could almost see life as a kind of hangover. When we get pieces of the puzzle, we feel it deep down. It's like we get closer to perfection or closer to order. We also see it in the eyes of another. It's like that clarity, or in some kind of eureka moment. Aha. It's almost like when you know you almost have the Rubik's Cube solved. It's like you see the solution falling into place. It just takes one or two more turns. Recital and drama. You even see this in performance. Like in the Eucharist. Do this in memory of me, Jesus said. I don't believe this is just about recalling that he was here. I think it's more about showing that touching the Christos, an emanation of the Logos, is remembering. It's making a past event become present now. Religion means to bind or to tie back, tying the ritual to the experience of the breakthrough. Catholics say that the bread and wine actually become the body and blood of Christ. They are ritualizing the drama. In their recital, their liturgy, it evokes memory through hearing or repeating. Here's an example. In the Eucharist, they recite, "This is my body." This reconnects the participant with Christ's sacrifice, making the event present in the soul. The Gospel of Thomas says, Jesus said, "Whoever drinks from my mouth will become like me. I myself shall become that person, and the hidden things will be revealed to that person." But here's another example. In Greek tragedy, actors embody suffering, justice, fate. The audience's soul recollects eternal forms of virtue, vice, and human nature. A Greek chorus reciting lines of a myth. Listener's soul recall the moral truths and archetypal forms embodied in the story. The soul remembers the truth behind the words, not just the words themselves. Oedipus Rex, the Bacchae, Antigone, they all use it. And the masks are representations of the faces. The soul is behind the face. The masks are the prisons. But we are all in dis-ease. So what does this mean for us? We are not just our bodies. We are remembering creatures. Every moment of insight, every feeling of displacement, every flash of recognition or deja vu is the soul nudging us toward what we already know. It wants to go back. It wants to return. The divine is not somewhere out there. It is here and now. It's woven into the threads of our lives. You can see it in a bird or a stone. You see it everywhere. You see it in our joys, in our suffering, in our encounters. The teacher, the text, the ritual, even the drama on the stage, they all act as mirrors, reflecting it. This is the listener behind the voice. You are the thought behind the thinking. Forgetfulness is our sickness, anamnesis is our cure. I'm going to leave you with this quote from the Gospel of Philip. Ignorance is the mother of all evil. Ignorance will result in death because those who come from ignorance neither were, nor are, nor shall be. I'm going to be talking about this more in my live stream at the end of the month, sharing some of my own experiences with anamnesis. But if you want to throw some of your experiences in the comments, you can do that. I'd love to read them. But that's all I got for this one. Take care. Have a good day.